I'll never forget standing in my tiny apartment at 25 years old, staring at a bank statement that showed $37 to my name. $37. I was married, had a baby on the way, and couldn't even take my wife out for a decent dinner. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the realization that hit me like a freight train that night. I had become exactly what I never wanted to be, average. And here's what really hurt. I couldn't blame anyone but myself. I had made 1,000 small choices, day after day, and each one had pulled me further down the path of mediocrity. Here's what I've learned since that painful evening, and let me tell you, this lesson changed everything for me. Being average isn't something that happens to you like catching a cold. It's not bad luck, or poor timing, or the wrong circumstances. Average is a choice you make every morning when you hit the snooze button instead of jumping out of bed with purpose. It's a choice you make when you do just enough to get by instead of pushing yourself to see what you're really capable of. The average life is the result of average thinking, average effort, and average commitment. My mentor, Mr. Schoaf, once asked me a question that felt like a punch to the gut. He said, "Jim, if you keep doing what you're doing, where will you be in 5 years?" I started to answer with all my hopes and dreams, but he stopped me cold. "No, no, no," he said, "not where you hope to be. Where will you actually be if nothing changes?" That's when it hit me. I was on a conveyor belt heading straight toward a life I didn't want, and the scariest part was that I had put myself on that belt through my own choices and habits. The truth is, most people don't decide to be average. They just never decide to be anything else. They wake up one day at 35 or 45 and wonder how they got there. They look around at their life and think, this isn't what I wanted, this isn't what I planned. But here's the thing they miss. Not deciding is a decision. Not choosing excellence is choosing mediocrity. When you don't have a plan for your life, you become part of someone else's plan, and I can promise you they haven't planned much for you. Let me share something with you that might sting a little, but it's something you need to hear. The average person reads less than 1 book a year after they finish school. Think about that for a moment. 1 book in 12 months. That's not a time problem. That's a priority problem. That's a person who has decided, whether they know it or not, that learning stopped the day they got their diploma. Meanwhile, the person who reads a book a week, who invests in seminars and personal development, who listens to educational content instead of just entertainment, that person is creating a gap between themselves and average that grows wider every single day. I used to make excuses just like everyone else. I didn't have money for books, so I couldn't learn. I didn't have connections, so I couldn't succeed. I didn't come from the right family, didn't go to the right schools, didn't know the right people. But you know what Mr. Schoaf taught me? He said, "Jim, it's not what happens that determines your life. It's what you do about what happens." That sentence right there, if you really understand it, will change everything for you. When I was broke and struggling, I blamed the economy. I blamed my job. I blamed the government. I blamed everyone but the one person who was actually responsible, me. The day I stopped blaming and started changing was the day my life turned around. Because here's what nobody wants to tell you. You are where you are because of you. Not your parents, not your boss, not your spouse, not the system, you. Your current situation is the result of the choices you've made and the actions you've taken up until this very moment. Now that might sound harsh, but let me tell you why it's actually the best news you could ever hear. If you got yourself into this situation, that means you have the power to get yourself out. If your choices created your current reality, then different choices can create a different reality. You're not a victim of circumstances, you're the architect of your life. You might not be responsible for everything that happens to you, but you are responsible for how you respond to everything that happens to you. The average person wakes up and asks, what's the least I can do today? The exceptional person wakes up and asks, what's the most I can do today? See the difference? It's not about working yourself to death or never enjoying life. It's about bringing your best self to whatever you do. It's about refusing to coast, refusing to phone it in, refusing to give anything less than your best effort. I remember working at a department store when I was young, and I watched people all around me doing just enough not to get fired. They showed up late, left early, took long breaks, complained constantly. They were trading their time for money, and they resented every minute of it. But I also noticed something else. There were a few people who worked differently. They came in early, stayed late when needed, looked for ways to improve things, treated customers like royalty. And you know what? Those people didn't stay at that job very long. They got promoted, started businesses, moved on to better things. The average people, they were still there 10 years later, still complaining, still doing just enough not to get fired. Here's a fundamental truth that will serve you well. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. You might get lucky once in a while, inherit some money, or win the lottery, but you won't keep what you haven't earned through personal growth. Why? Because who you are will always determine what you attract and what you keep. If you want more, you have to become more. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. When I started studying successful people, I noticed they all had something in common. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't wait until they felt ready. They didn't wait for permission or approval. They just started. They made mistakes, adjusted, learned, and kept going. The average person waits. They wait for the right time, the right opportunity, the right resources. But the right time is now. The right opportunity is the one in front of you. The right resources are what you already have, even if it doesn't seem like much. You weren't born to be average any more than an eagle was born to scratch in the dirt with chickens. But here's the catch. The eagle has to choose to fly. It has to spread its wings and leave the safety of the ground. It has to risk the fall to experience the soar. You have that same choice every single day. You can stay on the ground where it's safe and comfortable and average, or you can spread your wings and see what you're really capable of. The moment that changed my life wasn't when I got rich or successful. It was earlier than that. It was the moment I got disgusted with being average. It was the moment I said, enough. I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. I'm capable of more than this. That disgust, that divine discontent, that's what drives change. You have to get to the point where staying the same is more painful than changing. You have to get to the point where you can't stand looking at yourself in the mirror, knowing you're capable of so much more, but settling for so much less. Let me tell you something that most people never figure out. Your philosophy is what shapes your life, not your circumstances. Two people can start in the exact same place with the same opportunities, the same resources, the same advantages, and one will end up wealthy and fulfilled while the other struggles paycheck to paycheck. What's the difference? It's not luck. It's not connections. It's philosophy. It's how you think about life, about work, about money, about yourself. I met a man once who grew up in the same neighborhood I did, went to the same schools, even worked at the same company for a while. 20 years later, I ran into him at a gas station. He was still complaining about the same things we complained about when we were 20. The government, the taxes, the boss, the economy. Meanwhile, my life had completely transformed. Same starting point, totally different destinations. The difference? I changed my philosophy. I changed how I thought about everything. Your philosophy is like a set of glasses you wear that colors everything you see. If your philosophy is that life is hard and people are out to get you and success is for other people, then that's exactly what you'll experience. But if your philosophy is that life rewards effort, that opportunities are everywhere, that you can learn and grow and become more, then your whole world changes. Same world, different experience, all because of philosophy. Here's what separates the average from the extraordinary, and listen closely because this is important. Average people are interested in success. Extraordinary people are committed to it. You know the difference? When you're interested in something, you do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you do it no matter what. Interest says, I'll try. Commitment says, I will. Interest looks for excuses. Commitment looks for solutions. Most people go through life interested in a lot of things, but committed to nothing. They're interested in getting in shape, but they're not committed, so they skip the gym when they don't feel like going. They're interested in building wealth, but they're not committed, so they spend money on things that make them feel good right now instead of investing in their future. They're interested in learning and growing, but they're not committed, so they watch television instead of reading books that could change their life. The day I became committed instead of just interested was the day everything shifted. I stopped saying I'll try to read more and started saying I will read for 30 minutes every single day. No exceptions. I stopped saying I should probably work on my skills and started saying I will attend every seminar, listen to every educational recording, and learn from every successful person I can find. That shift from maybe to must, from interested to committed, that's where your extraordinary life begins. Let me talk to you about personal standards for a minute, because this is critical. Your life will never rise above the standards you set for yourself. If your standard is to be on time, you'll rarely be late. If your standard is to be punctual, you'll usually be early. If your standard is average work, you'll produce average results. If your standard is excellence, you won't be able to settle for anything less. Most people's standards are set by what they'll tolerate. They'll tolerate being 10 pounds overweight, so that becomes their standard. They'll tolerate a mediocre relationship, so that becomes their standard. They'll tolerate a job that doesn't challenge them or pay them what they're worth, so that becomes their standard. But here's the thing about tolerating. What you tolerate becomes your baseline. You can't exceed what you're willing to accept. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was broke, I was tolerating being broke. I was accepting it. I was making peace with it. I'd say things like, well, at least I'm not homeless, or money isn't everything, or rich people are probably miserable anyway. Those were all just ways of tolerating my situation instead of changing it. The moment I stopped tolerating poverty, the moment I said this is unacceptable, I refuse to live like this one more day, that's when things started to change. Your standards affect everything. They affect how you dress, how you speak, how you treat people, how you manage your time, how you handle your money. If you want to know what your standards are, just look at your life. Your life is a perfect reflection of what you've been willing to accept. The good news, you can change your standards right now, today, this very moment. You can decide that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. You can decide that you deserve more, and you're willing to do what it takes to get it. Now, let me tell you about the relationship between thinking and results, because this is where most people get confused. Average people think that circumstances create thinking. They think, when I have more money, then I'll think like a wealthy person. But it doesn't work that way. Your thinking creates your circumstances. You have to think like a wealthy person before you become wealthy. You have to think like a successful person before you become successful. When I was broke, I thought like a broke person. I thought short term. I thought about what I could get right now instead of what I could build for the future. I thought about price instead of value. I thought about spending instead of investing. Then I started studying wealthy people, successful people, and I noticed they thought completely differently. They thought long term. They thought about value and investment and compound growth. They thought about building assets instead of buying liabilities. So I made a decision. I decided to start thinking like the person I wanted to become instead of the person I was. When faced with a choice, I'd ask myself, what would a successful person do in this situation? And then I'd do that even if it felt uncomfortable, even if it didn't make sense to everyone around me. That mental shift, that decision to think differently before my circumstances changed, that's what set everything in motion. The average person thinks that effort and reward should be immediately connected. They think, I worked hard today, so I should see results today. But that's not how life works. Life rewards consistent effort over time, not sporadic effort in the moment. The extraordinary person understands that today's effort is an investment in tomorrow's results. They understand the compound effect. Here's what I mean by the compound effect. If you read 10 pages of a good book every single day, that doesn't seem like much. But 10 pages a day is 300 pages a month. That's about 3 or 4 books a month. That's 36 to 48 books a year. Do that for 5 years, and you've read somewhere between 180 and 240 books, while the average person has read maybe 5. Now, who do you think will have more knowledge, more wisdom, more opportunities? The compound effect isn't dramatic. It's not exciting, but it's powerful beyond measure. The same principle applies to everything. Save $5 a day, and it doesn't seem like much. But that's $35 a week, $150 a month, $1,800 a year. Do that for 20 years with compound interest, and you could have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 or more. Meanwhile, the average person saved nothing because $5 a day didn't seem like enough to matter. Small disciplines repeated with consistency create massive results over time. But here's the catch, and this is where most people fail. Small errors in judgment repeated consistently also create massive problems over time. Eating one unhealthy meal won't make you obese. But eating unhealthy meals every day for 10 years will destroy your health. Missing one day at the gym won't matter, but missing every day for 10 years will matter tremendously. What's easy to do is also easy not to do. That's the trap. It's easy to read 10 pages today, but it's also easy not to. It's easy to make that sales call, but it's also easy not to. It's easy to save $5, but it's also easy not to. And because these things are easy not to do, most people don't do them. They tell themselves it doesn't matter, that they'll start tomorrow, that missing one day won't hurt. But one day becomes 1 week, becomes 1 month, becomes 1 year, becomes a life of missed opportunities and unrealized potential. The extraordinary person does the easy things that are also easy not to do. They do them when they feel like it and when they don't. They do them when it's convenient and when it's not. They do them because they understand that success isn't about one big decision or one heroic moment. Success is about 100 small decisions made correctly every single day. Let me talk to you about mornings, because how you start your day determines everything that follows. The average person hits the snooze button 3 times, rolls out of bed with just enough time to get ready, rushes through breakfast or skips it entirely, and arrives at work already feeling behind. They've lost the day before it even started. The extraordinary person, they own their morning. They wake up with purpose, take time for themselves, prepare their mind for the day ahead, and step into their work already feeling like a winner. I started getting up an hour earlier than I needed to, and that one change transformed my entire life. That hour became my hour. Not my boss's hour, not my family's hour, not the world's hour. Mine. I used it to read, to think, to plan, to work on myself. That hour became my competitive advantage. While everyone else was hitting snooze, I was getting better. While everyone else was rushing and stressed, I was calm and prepared. 1 hour a day, 7 hours a week, 365 hours a year. That's like having 45 extra 8-hour workdays every year to invest in yourself. But here's what matters more than the time itself. It's what you do with it. You can get up early and waste the time scrolling through your phone, or you can use it to actually become someone different, someone better. The question isn't whether you have time. Everybody gets 24 hours. The question is, what are you doing with the time you have? Are you investing it or spending it? Are you building something or just passing time? Now, I need to talk to you about goals, because most people have this completely backwards. They have wishes, not goals. They say things like, I wish I had more money, or I wish I was in better shape, or I wish I had a better job. But wishes are nothing but dreams, with no engine, no fuel, no plan. A goal is different. A goal is specific. It's written down. It has a deadline. It has a plan attached to it. When I finally got serious about changing my life, I didn't just wish for things to get better. I sat down with a piece of paper and wrote exactly what I wanted. Not vague wishes, but specific targets. Not I want to be wealthy someday, but I will earn $50,000 in the next 12 months. Not I should probably read more, but I will read one book every week for the next year. See the difference? One is a wish floating in the air. The other is a target you can aim at. Here's something most people never do. They never measure their progress. They work and work and work, but they have no idea if they're actually getting anywhere because they're not tracking anything. How much money did you save last month? How many new skills did you develop? How many valuable contacts did you make? How many pages did you read? How many hours did you invest in your personal growth? If you can't answer these questions with specific numbers, you're not managing your life, you're just wandering through it. I started keeping score of everything that mattered. Sales calls made, books read, money saved, skills learned. And something interesting happened when I started measuring. My numbers got better. Why? Because what gets measured gets improved. When you track something, you become aware of it. When you're aware of it, you start managing it. When you manage it, it improves. It's that simple. Let me tell you about one of the most important decisions you'll ever make, and most people never even think about it consciously. It's the decision about who you spend your time with. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me the books you read, the people you associate with, the conversations you engage in, and I'll tell you where you'll be in 5 years. The average person hangs around with other average people. They complain together about how hard life is, how unfair things are, how the system is rigged against them. They reinforce each other's limitations. They drag each other down to the lowest common denominator, and if you try to rise above that, if you try to do something different, they'll do everything they can to pull you back down. Not because they're bad people, but because your success reminds them of their own mediocrity, and that's uncomfortable for them. I had to make one of the hardest decisions of my life when I decided to change. I had to change who I spent my time with. Some of the people I'd known for years, people I cared about, I had to spend less time with them because they weren't going where I wanted to go. That sounds harsh, and it felt harsh, but it was necessary. You can't soar with eagles if you're scratching around with turkeys. You can't become extraordinary if you're surrounded by people committed to being average. So I started seeking out people who were already where I wanted to be. Successful people. People who read books and attended seminars and invested in themselves. People who talked about opportunities instead of problems. People who challenged me to be better instead of making me feel comfortable being less. And let me tell you, it made all the difference. Your associations don't just influence your life, they determine it. Here's what I learned about successful people that nobody tells you. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented than you. They don't have some special gift you don't have. What they have is better habits. They've developed disciplines that serve them. They've eliminated behaviors that hurt them. They've built a lifestyle that moves them toward their goals instead of away from them. The difference between success and failure often comes down to just a few disciplines practiced every single day. Reading 30 minutes a day instead of watching television. Saving 10% of your income instead of spending everything you make. Arriving 15 minutes early instead of 5 minutes late. Treating every customer like they're the most important person in the world instead of just another transaction. Small things, simple things, but done consistently over time, they create extraordinary results. But here's the flip side, and this is where it gets dangerous. Small errors in judgment, repeated consistently, also compound. Being late occasionally becomes being late habitually. Spending a little more than you earn becomes debt that grows and grows. Skipping the gym once becomes never going at all. Eating poorly for one meal becomes eating poorly for every meal. And before you know it, those small errors have created big problems. What's interesting is that in the moment, neither the discipline nor the error seems to matter much. Reading for 30 minutes today versus watching television for 30 minutes doesn't seem like a big deal. The results are the same either way at the end of the day. But that's the trick. That's the trap. Because those 30 minutes compounded over a year, over 5 years, over 20 years, create completely different lives. The extraordinary person understands something the average person doesn't. Everything counts. Every choice, every action, every word, every thought, nothing is neutral. Everything is either moving you toward what you want or away from it. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're moving toward. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you're moving away. There's no standing still. You're either growing or dying, improving or declining, moving forward or falling behind. I keep a journal, and I've been doing it for years now. Every night before bed, I write about my day. What I did well, what I could have done better, what I learned, what I need to work on. Most people never take the time to learn from their experiences. They just move from one day to the next, making the same mistakes, facing the same problems, wondering why nothing ever changes. But when you journal, when you reflect, when you actually think about what happened and why it happened and what you can do differently next time, that's when real growth happens. Your life is happening right now, today, in this moment. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready, right now. And the question is, what are you doing with it? Are you making it count? Are you investing in yourself? Are you building something? Or are you just getting through another day, waiting for something to change, hoping things will somehow get better without you having to do anything different? Time is the one resource you can never get back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose opportunities and find new ones. But time, once it's gone forever. The average person treats time like it's unlimited, like they have forever to get around to the things that matter. They waste hours on things that don't move them forward, then wonder where all the time went. The extraordinary person treats every hour like the precious gift it is. They guard their time, protect it, invest it wisely in things that actually matter. Let me ask you a question that should shake you to your core. What if you actually became everything you're capable of becoming? What if you stopped making excuses and started making progress? What if you stopped settling and started demanding more? From yourself, what kind of life could you create? What kind of person could you become? What kind of impact could you have? Most people will never know the answer to that question because they'll never try. They'll go to their grave with their potential still inside them, unused, untapped, wasted. And that's the real tragedy of an average life. It's not that you didn't have enough. It's that you never used what you had. It's not that you weren't capable. It's that you never pushed yourself to find out what you were capable of. I think about this all the time now. I think about the man I could have remained if I hadn't made the decision to change. Still broke at 35, 45, 55. Still making excuses. Still blaming circumstances. Still wondering why life was so hard for me while other people seemed to have it so easy. That version of me would have missed everything that makes life worth living. The growth, the achievement, the satisfaction of knowing I gave it everything I had. Your life is a message to everyone watching you. Your children, your friends, your co-workers, people you don't even know are watching. And what message is your life sending? Is it saying settle for less? Is it saying don't try too hard? Is it saying dreams don't come true? Or is it saying anything is possible if you're willing to work for it? Is it saying you can change your life? Is it saying excellence is available to anyone willing to pay the price? Here's what I've discovered. Success isn't really about money, although money is a nice result of doing things right. Success is about becoming the person you're capable of becoming. It's about looking in the mirror and respecting the person looking back at you. It's about lying down at night knowing you gave the day everything you had. It's about the internal satisfaction that comes from knowing you didn't cheat yourself, you didn't sell yourself short, you didn't settle for less than you deserved. Financial independence is wonderful, but it's not the goal. The goal is to become someone who naturally attracts financial independence. The goal is to develop the skills, the knowledge, the character, the habits that make success inevitable. Because here's the truth, you don't pursue success, you attract it by the person you become. You don't chase money, you become valuable, and money chases you. Life operates in seasons, and understanding this will save you years of frustration. There's a season for planting, a season for cultivating, a season for harvesting. Most people want to harvest before they've planted. They want the results without putting in the work. They want the payday without the preparation. But life doesn't work that way. You have to plant in the spring if you want to harvest in the fall. You have to do the work now if you want the results later. So here's my challenge to you, and I mean this with everything in me. Start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Today, this moment, right now. Make the decision that average is no longer acceptable. Make the decision that you're worth more than a mediocre life. Make the decision to see what you're really capable of. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to be extraordinary. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to feel ready. The time is now. You are ready. You have everything you need to start. Maybe not everything you need to finish, but everything you need to begin. And that's all that matters right now. Begin. Refuse to be average. Refuse to settle. Refuse to live a life that's smaller than the one you're capable of living. You weren't born to blend in with the crowd. You weren't born to just get by. You weren't born to wonder what if. You were born to find out what you're made of, to test your limits, to see how far you can go, to become everything you're capable of becoming. The decision is yours. It's always been yours. Nobody else can make it for you. Nobody else can do the work for you. Nobody else can become who you're supposed to become. That's on you. And starting right now, in this very moment, you can choose differently. You can choose to be extraordinary. You can decide that today is the day your life changes, not because circumstances changed, but because you changed. Make that decision now and watch what happens to your life.